Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining the online hangout of the Digital News Initiative Innovation Fund. Sounds that there is a lot of interest for the fund. More than 400 people are registered to attend this specific session. So thanks a lot for joining. It's always impressive to talk to people we cannot see, but we will try to answer all the questions you've already asked to us, and we will curate other questions you are about to send now. So thank you very much again for joining. I'm Ludovic Blecher. I'm the head of the DNI News Initiative Innovation Fund. We're going to try to first share the lessons of round one, but before that, remind you the rules and criteria. It's really a way for us to provide high-level guidelines and to explain the main pitfall of the first application window in order to help you to improve your application for round 2 that has just opened and that will close on July 11th. Close to me, Christian Ace, part of the project team. Christian?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for joining today. After we see the nice presentation by Ludo, we will answer your question together with Sarah. Sarah is also part of the project team, and we are really happy to come back to your questions you ask us in advance, but at now as well. So thanks for joining again, and hand over back to Ludo.
Okay. So first, it's really important to understand that we are not just talking about the fund when we are talking about the Digital News Initiative. The Digital News Initiative is a framework for dialogue with the news ecosystem built upon 3 pillars. The first one is the product development, products such as accelerated mobile pages, and it's how Google can help through technology and innovation with its engineering skills. Second one is training and research, is the News Lab, helping and the journalists to figure out how they can use the tools in the Google tools in the newsroom. Third one is the innovation pillar, and it's the innovation fund we are in charge, and that's what we will try to explain today, how it works, how you can apply, but it's very important not to look just at the fund. It makes sense to see all the pillars coming all together and to see this initiative as a whole. So let's dig into the DNI Innovation Fund. So the DNI Fund, the aim of the fund is to support and to stimulate innovation in the news ecosystem. Stimulation is really the key word here. Over the next 3 years, Google will make available up to 150 million euros for projects that demonstrate new thinking in the practice of digital journalism and that support the development of new business models. We really struggle hard first to define news. What does news mean? We try to keep it as broad and open as possible. Basically, everyone that are producing journalism or regional journalism can apply. So it's really broad and open. And as you will see, there is also a specific track where even individuals that have idea for news can send application. We are also talking here, of course, about innovation, and same, very hard to define innovation. So innovation is seen more as a process than a state-of-the-art standard. So you have to really explain why your application is innovative, and all the aim of the fund is to help people or the publishers, any kind of publishers. It can be online-only player, legacy media, broadcaster, new startup, any kind of publishers in 32 countries in Europe that are eligible to apply to their taking risk. It's all about stimulating the ecosystem. Christian?
And make sure that in the application, and that's a really important point, you write down the narrative or the story, why your project, why your idea is contributing to the European news ecosystem. That's a really, really important point. Always make sure that this is a part of your application and a part of your project, detailed project description within the application.
Okay, so what we are looking for is a very specific project, and that was one of the main pitfalls of round one. we are not looking at the broad digital agenda of the applicant. It's not about modernization, it's innovation/transformation, but really focused on innovation. And the project has to be specific. It cannot be the main operation, the current operation of an applicant. We are not supporting a specific publishers, we are supporting specific idea and specific project. So that's why it's important to have a clear perimeter and to explain that the project is not the whole operation of a company. The project has to be digital first or digital only, or at least the main component has to be digital. And we welcome, of course, project focus on a specific organization, but we really, really welcome collaborative application. A collaboration can be between different or 2, 3 or more publishers, but it can also be a collaboration between a publisher and a new startup, between a publisher and an academic, or any kind of collaboration in a specific country or across Europe. The fund is not about modernization, so we don't fund and finance the upgrade of legacy publishing system, and the publishers has to be tied to the creation of original journalism.
So that's something which is really important also on the whole D&I initiative. So it's about like communication between the different stakeholders within the news publishing industry. So I think, again, to jump on it, collaborative projects even show us much better that people are communicating together and innovating not just their own market, but probably other markets as well. So think about like applying for a collaborative project as well, if you have the chance to do so.
Yeah, we would like to have more collaborative projects and also more projects that are about diversification of revenue stream, creation of new revenue, monetization, and diversification. So what are the impact? And that is really important. How do we assess the application? We are looking at 3 main criteria. First, the impact on the news ecosystem. Second, innovation and use of technology. And then the team and feasibility. What does impact mean? I would say it has, it's related to the inspiration. Can your project be also inspiring for the other? Does it have an impact on your own organization, an impact on the whole ecosystem? And there is many ways to have impact. The impact can be because you tackle a challenge that everyone is facing. The impact can be because you create a product that doesn't already exist, or because you create a product that exists, but you are handling the situation in a very different way. And so you are opening a new idea, new path. So it's really the impact can be seen in many different ways, but please define the impact and explain why do you think it has an impact. Innovation and use of technology, same. Innovation is a process. Explain why do you think it's innovative, depending of your starting point, what is innovative for you, but also why it's innovative for the ecosystem, the local ecosystem, the European ecosystem, and why you think it can be inspiring. Innovation doesn't always go with technology. Innovation can go with technology, but it can be also just because it creates new way to generate revenue or a new product. Then the team and feasibility. We are looking here at who is behind, explain us who is the team, and if it's really feasible for you, how do you mitigate the risk? Is it consistent between the money you ask, the amount of funding requested, and your capacity to finance or co-finance your 30%, for example? I would say that the key word here is consistency. Being consistent with the idea, the innovative component, and the capacity to handle the project. It's very important to understand something here about consistency. The aim of the fund is to finance a specific project, not to support the whole operation of a company again. So it has to be specific and really think about your project that way. And please provide clear metrics, KPIs, mock-ups, business plan if you have. We want to see the opportunities around the project. You have something to say, Christian?
No, I just want to jump up on it again, because I mean, think about us as being the assessors. If you, or yourself as being the assessor, if you read your application again before you hand it in, you have to make sure that all the selection criteria are addressed directly within the application. So this is a really important point, and also a lesson from round one, actually, that you have to make sure for us that the narrative on the selection criteria is clear for us. So clear for the intern, for the external assessors. So try to refer to the impact of the news on the news ecosystem. Try to address the innovation and use of technologies. Don't go just for pure content creation. That doesn't make any sense. And also refer to the team and to the feasibility criteria.
So be focused, think about the product and the users. Explain what will be the end product and what will be done for the users from a user perspective. So we have 3 tracks. One is a prototype track, the other one is the medium project track, and second one is the large project track. Prototype is open basically to everyone that has FD for news. It's assumption, very innovative assumption that has to be tested. It's 50K and we found up to 100%. Then the medium and large, and the first track, the prototype one is open to anyone. Even individual can apply, they just have to be based in EU or EFTA. Medium and large projects are open to any kind of organization with at least 1 journalist on staff. Medium project is up to 300K funding. We fund up to 70%. Large project, the ceiling, the cap is 1 million euro. Same, we fund up to 70%. The rest has to be co-financed on top of it by the applicant. I would say that any kind of expenses are eligible. It can be internal, external, editorial cost, engineering cost, asset creation, design, whatever. The only thing that is capped is the marketing expenses, and we don't want to support, again, the overall operation of a company, so not eligible are office rental, furniture, or travel expenses. A few words about the governance of the fund. Basically, there is 2 bodies. One is the project team, and the second one, so the project team is us, and then there is a council. In both the project team and the council, we want to have a very diverse perspective, and so it's a mix of Googlers, people from Google's, and external. For the project team, it's very hands-on people that are joining the team for the assessment process. Each application is assessed by 2 persons at least, 1 internal, 1 external. The aim of the project team is to do a first filter. We receive a number of applications, we make a first shortlist, and we shortlist people to have interaction with them, and we have a lot of discussion then with the publishers and the applicant. Last round, we received 1,236 applications. We've done something like 450 interviews with applicants. That's why the DNA of the fund is really about having conversation and engaging the dialogue with the ecosystem. In that sense, we really value the process. It's really important to take it seriously, not to just have an idea, but to turn around your idea and to give us the opportunity to ask more questions, to engage the discussion. And at the end of the day, selected or not, you have a project you are proud of, and you can do it anyway. So the project team make the decision and the final decision for prototype and medium size project, and they make a shortlist and produce recommendation for large project above 300K funding, and we brought those projects to the council with our recommendation, and the council vote yes or no for the large project and decide of the final level of funding. Same, the council is a mix of Googlers and non-Googlers, 3 Googlers, 10 people from the whole ecosystem all across Europe. We have council member for France. From the chairman is João Palmeiro, is the president of the Portuguese Press Association. People from Spain, from Poland. It's a really diverse group of people. Same, the idea is always to bring different perspective in the project and to engage the conversation in order to have really a fair assessment. We also have a clear recusal process. I have something to say and to make very clear, the fund has nothing to do with Google product. You don't have to put Google product in your application, and all the information that are sent to the fund team are kept safely among the fund team, and you decide what kind of information you want to send. So a few words about round ones. We received 1,236 applications, and most of them were prototypes for maximum 50K, 755 prototype, 226 large, 255 medium project. Interesting is to note that 60% of the application came from organization, and even the prototype, most of them were sent by application. That's interesting because it shows tractions, of course, but it also shows that even within the big organization, people just take opportunity to take risks, to test something, and if it works, they can move forward with it. We had 170 collaborative projects plus 20 partnerships, so about 200 projects that were collaborative, and this is something we would like to increase. We would like to have more collaborative project. It's part of the stimulation of the ecosystem. In February 2016, we've made the selection, or we've announced the project, and we've selected 128 projects among 23 countries, and we've offered 27 million euro funding. You have all the information on the website. If you look at the website, you can see listed the large project, the medium project, and the prototype. You have the list of the company that has been offered funding. We are now in the process of drafting the funding agreement. More than half of them has been already signed, and so people are starting now working on their project. If there is one recommendation we can give, and you should really, if there is one takeaway of this Hangout, is please spend time on the website. Read in depth the FAQ, read the application form, take time to go in depth in the website, and then to just brainstorm with your team, step back, build around your idea, and work on your application, provide clear metrics and KPI. I want to share with you quickly the trends of the submission for round one. A lot of projects about video and virtual reality, data journalism, personalization, audio, mobile, robot journalism, machine learning, and platform. And now, few tips: be focused, be specific, no pure content creation. It's not about pure content creation. It's that to be a project that goes with the package and some editorial product. You don't have always to put editorial in it. It can be a pure marketing or a pure diversification project that goes with the creation of new revenue stream. But it's not, we don't fund pure content creation. Explain the impact, tell us more about the team, provide KPIs and metrics, describe the cost, and again, collaborative approach is really welcome.
And if you work on one of these trends Ludo just presented regarding robot journalism or virtual reality, and you see a few applicants, because we had this question before, which we have funded last round, that doesn't mean that we won't fund the same topic in the next round as well. So try to be consistent again, try to make sure why your project is unique and why you think we should fund this kind of project to contribute to the news ecosystem, to the European one, and you can even submit something on a topic which has already been funded, okay?
Okay, so submit your application, spend time on the website, submit your application before July 11th. It's going to close on the application window on July 11th. No pure content creation again. We're going to support a project for maximum 2 years. The project can last more, of course, and we hope it's going to last more, but we just support the 2 first years, the development and the launch. And we won't have this time project, we won't support project about training or education. After having spending time on the website, if you have a very specific question, not a general question, please reach out. We are happy to answer your question. There is people behind the fund, dnifund@google.com. We really answer the question, but it has to be a question that is not answered on the website, please. Now we are taking your first questions.
Yeah, thanks again. Before Ludo is answering the first question, thanks again for handing in a few questions up front. We really appreciate that. And I think we will just start to answer like the most rated, but also most interesting questions in the beginning. So we start with question 1. And the first question is, could you kindly give examples of successful projects in the first round and what their goals and targets were?
So all are interesting, but this one can maybe help you or inspire you to understand how you can really meet the rules and criteria. So I will take on purpose 3 projects, one on the medium track, the other one on the large, and on the prototype, and same on purpose for diversity, different type of organization and very different topic. One about, I would say, more marketing and monetization. The other one is also about monetization, but through an editorial product. And the prototype one is really about cutting-edge innovation, trying to tackle the big issues through innovation. So let's start with the large project. Large project is brought by an applicant, Irish applicant, and when they look at their audience, they of course see that there is a lot of people visiting their website for overseas in a specific country, because the diaspora that are still struggling with Ireland is a huge consumer of their website. One of the questions is, how can you improve the engagement with the diaspora and raise the average revenue per user? This is a question that this newspaper is facing, but a lot of publishing houses in countries where there is a huge diaspora are the same challenge to tackle. So they came with a large project that is a product specifically, especially dedicated to the diaspora. And this product goes, of course, with editorial content, but not only, also specific features, services, and many things that will help them to really target this diaspora and find new way of monetization through this audience, through specific subscription offer or sponsorship, advertising, and so on. So that's an editorial product that try to create value and again tackle a challenge. Second example, a medium project is brought by a housing company, a big housing company from the Netherlands and Belgium, and they have a lot of premium content, and they want to figure out a way to reshape the way they can work on their marketing, and especially on the content distribution and how you make people discover content. So you know, when you go, for example, to the doctor, there is a waiting room and there is a newspaper on the table or a news magazine. Old-fashioned way to do marketing and to have people discovering your content. They're going to use the beacon technology, the beacon devices, to target very specific places where there is people that are interested in. And when you show up in this specific place, you receive a push notification that tell you that you can access to huge number of pieces for free. You just have to sign up. Then they can measure your engagement, your consumption. When you are 100 meters away, you cannot access the content anymore, but they have a lot of metrics, and that can be used to send very specific subscription offer, for instance. Last project, very interesting, is interesting in the way they are trying to figure out a solution to help building more trust. It's about certification of video content on the social network. As you know, there is a lot of user-generated content, video, a citizen is shooting a video, put it on social network, everybody is embedded the piece, but you're never sure that the video has been taken the day it was supposed to have been taken, who has taken it, and so on. So how can you certify this content in order to make sure you have the right information? They want to use this Italian startup want to use the blockchain technology. This technology is the backbone of the technological backbone of the Bitcoins, the digital currency, which is basically a technology of certification. So when someone shoots a video, they put this video, they upload the video into a specific app. The application will stamp the video with the basic question, the what, the who, the where, etc. And then this video will be certified through the blockchain, and at the other side of the chain, in the newsroom, you can check the video and get all the taggings in order to make sure that you have the right information. So I think those projects are interesting because they are all diverse, not all about technology, but there is one similarity. They are all trying to tackle a challenge that everyone is somehow facing, or many people are facing in the news ecosystem. So that's clearly about stimulation. And if they figure out a way to do it, it will have an impact.
And that's,
Christian, you can take the second question, right?
That's, before I come to the second question, one of the main cases. That all were like great examples to just show like the mixture between like use of technology, like content distribution, old publishing houses, new startups. So I think these are just great. So let's come to the second question. Will you be able, and I will answer the question by myself actually, will you be able to give a breakdown of the number and size of grants made in the first phase of the DNI? Yes, we will. As Ludo said this already, and we showed you the statistics on the presentation, we had like 1,236 applicants. Out of these applicants, and you can also check these numbers on our website, digitalnewsinitiative.com/fund, we had like 128 successful applicants. 33 of them were large ones, so 224 applied, but we chose 33 from the medium track, so up to 300,000 K by 70% own contribution. We had like 225 applicants. We chose 36. And last but not least, we had like 755 prototype applicants, and we chose nearly 60, so 59. Regarding the overall funding, we spent in the first round 27.3 million euro at an average for an applicant of 213,000. So for the prototype track, the average was around like, let's say 45 or 46K. For the medium track, it was like 234K. And for the large track, we had like 490K. So it was like a various amount of project applied to the last round. We were really impressed by the numbers. We are really looking forward to the next round. And as you know, heard these numbers, you might even think about applying for which track you are applying. And please review the presentation Ludo just showed you earlier on the idea of the different tracks. So prototype up to 50K, medium up to 300K, and large to 1 million euro funding with a cap. Next question.
Quick change.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question we've had in from Dahinder Nurs, and I think it's one of the most asked questions I get actually, and I'm guessing there's quite a few of you watching who did make a first application and want to know the answer to this. So does it make sense to resubmit a revised project for a second chance? If yes, how can we learn about the rejection reasons and how to improve the project? Okay. So the first part of that question is very easy. Yes, it makes a lot of sense to resubmit the revised project. But along with that, obviously do revise it. So there wouldn't be any point in resubmitting it just exactly the same as it was first submitted. So it's really a chance to go back and have a look. It may be that some of the things we've said today or some of the things you've read about the DNI fund have kind of made it more obvious to you why it perhaps wasn't successful in the first round. But do go and check it back to the criteria, to those 3 points that we keep mentioning here, and just check the general application. Was everything covered off? Were all the questions answered fully? Was the business plan included? Did you have the criteria properly sort of buttoned down? The way to think about the reasons for rejection is probably to go through each of the criteria on the website and go through the FAQ and actually kind of take a step back and say, honestly, did I come up to those questions? If there's still some doubt in your mind as to whether your application was eligible for some reason, then perhaps that'll come up in one of the questions in a minute. Otherwise, get in touch via the email, and we'll try and address that specific question.
So unfortunately, we are not able, at the massive amount of applications, to give an individual feedback to all of the applicants, even to the unsuccessful ones. But take the time and reach out to us. But again, the first step would be read the criteria, really read carefully the FAQ. We will mention that quite often today, because we had it in the last round that we had the feeling sometimes that the criteria didn't match to the ones we mentioned on the website. So make sure it matches with the criteria, read all the sections within the FAQ, and hand in your application again.
Yeah. So one for you, Christian, but does the DNI welcome projects with a heavy research and development phase interlinked with project iterations over, say, 2 years? Or does it favour projects with a brief rollout time and first prototype during the near future?
Okay, as Ludo said in the beginning, we are not a classical research fund, obviously. We mentioned that quite often on the webpage as well. Nevertheless, still, if you see the list of applicants, the successful applicants last round, you will see quite a few NGOs and with an academic background, but also universities have been applying and being successful as well. Nevertheless, you should always make sure that you will make sure that the project hasn't started so far, okay? So think about if you hand in a research project or a combined research project which has development interlinked with product iterations over 2 years, like the question was, that's totally fine, but make sure you match with the terms and conditions. Make sure that this project hasn't been published so far. You will just be able to start to work on your project as soon as the agreement is signed, and never try to be having a project which is longer than 2 years. So next question, actually, I think it's again for me, Sarah.
It's one of the most asked ones
That's
as well,
true.
isn't it, this
Yeah.
one? So.
Very true. So could you explain the co-fund up to 70% bit? That's a really, really good question. And again, we improved quite a lot the FAQ before starting this round. And I think there was a really reasonable step. So again, please check the FAQ, the new one, if you haven't checked it until now. We always say regarding with the start of the project of a medium-sized project, so up to 300K, from 50K to 300K or 300K to 1 million, it is important to make sure that we can see that you bring in an own contribution of, like, but it is 30%. So the example we have here in the question is totally fine. Make sure that you can, if you hand in the application, you provide to us an overall budget, which is maybe even above, like the 30% own, including above over the 30% own contribution, but it has to include the 30%. So if you are asking us within the application form, and we try to be really specific in the application form, which you actually can download from the FAQ, but you can also download before you fill in the application form. We try to be really specific and make clear that on one hand, we are asking for the overall budget, including the 30% minimum own contribution. And on the other hand, we are asking for the amount of money you are requesting from Google DNI Innovation Fund. So always make sure that the numbers are really consistent. And again, that's a learning from last round. Do the math right, okay? We had quite a lot of times last time, and again, we tried to be more specific on the question this round, that people were not able to calculate the right proportion of, like, the own contribution. So check the FAQ, read the application form before you hand in the application, and make sure the numbers are fine. last part of the question, sorry, was can it be an investment that we already have done? That refers to something I've already answered. So you should start with the project as soon as the funding agreement is signed. So if you get the funding granted, we will try to be as quick as possible to get you to sign the funding agreement. So we can't cover any costs or any investments which occurred before the funding agreement was signed. I hope that's a good answer for you. Next one. That's yours, Sarah. Great. Is it possible to create a team with members and organizations that come from different European countries? It's a good one.
It's a good one. And yes, and we love this one. Collaboration's one of the big things, one of the big sort of thrusts that the D&I Fund is about. So if you had a team with members from lots of different European countries, that's absolutely fantastic. And we'd be very welcoming to your application and look forward to reading it. Just to mention what the actual kind of rules are there. Obviously, to be an organisation, we require an organisation to have a minimum of one journalist. The lead organisation has to be based in a European country. Other partners could be elsewhere. But if you're talking about a team that is entirely European, then that issue won't arise. We have sort of companies and partnerships that are available. When you fill in the form, you'll see you're asked what you are, whether you're applying as a sort of collaboration of various companies or an association, or perhaps in case of prototypes, you could be just a group of friends that are coming together. So just be very clear about what your legal kind of status is within it. And we will need to identify a lead partner on it, because that will be part of this sort of legals and financial aspects of it.
So the next question again for you, Sarah. We have to hurry up a bit as time is running.
Okay.
But the next question would be, could you explain how the financial opportunity will be leveraged? If I'm an individual, we like leveraging. If I'm an individual and I require initially easy funds, is that the right way to go?
Okay, so the funding and how the funding's paid out is a set format, and it doesn't matter whether you're an individual or a very large organisation, it will be exactly the same. When you've been notified that you're successful, we then go through a process with you where you'll be asked to sign a funding agreement. Within that funding agreement, it explains all the process, but basically the first tranche of money that you receive is 30% of what you've been awarded. It's just a kind of automatic, if you like, 30%. The delivery time on that 30% is within 10 weeks of you signing the form and Google countersigning the form. So the time taken to get to that point depends a lot on the grantee. There's forms to fill, there's financials to do, there's definitions of the project to go into much more depth than the application. So those are kind of on both our sides, Google and the grantee. But then once those are signed, you've got a sort of definite timeline. Now, if that sounds like a long time, it's perhaps worth looking at other interim measures that you could put in place, but the process is exactly the same for individuals and for organizations.
Okay, next question. I think we have nearly answered it, so this will be a really quick one. I would like to hear about possibilities to involve future journalist students' bachelor program, for instance. Is it possible to apply as a university in order to try new things with students in the context of a project? The quick answer is sure, but we do not allow any training programs. I mean, Ludo said this pretty clear in the presentation earlier on. You will also see it on the website. So make sure that if you apply, that you match the eligible criteria, that you match like the requests regarding the terms and condition, and make sure that it's not just training. If it's about really innovative projects to contribute to the European news ecosystem, it's fine. If it's just training, it wouldn't be a good idea. And in general, universities are totally eligible to apply. Sarah, I think that's yours again. The primary costs and risk of developing my new content solution relates to fundamental research with the university into psychological barriers to citizen journalism. Would the D&I support this basic research phase?
Okay, so the D&I Fund, as I think we've explained quite a lot, is all about news, innovation, and I'm afraid it's not about research. There are people that fund research. We don't fund pure research. So in this case, I don't think this would be eligible to us. Obviously, we'd be interested in what came next, because what we're actually looking for is a product, a service, a prototype, a thing that exists in the world at the end of it. And as I say, the DNI, I'm afraid, is not a research partner.
Okay, again, we have to hurry up. Time is running, but we might skip a few questions. So we just will take another two probably. We are thinking of taking part in a collaborative project whose lead applicant will be another organization. If we become part of that collaborative application, can we still submit our own one? Does it have any impact on the likelihood of being selected? So to the first question, you are allowed to hand in one application as one entity. So you can totally hand in one application being part of a collaborative project, and also hand in an application by your own. So that should be completely fine. And if you check the list of the successful applicants, we had actually this situation last round as well. So on the second question, actually, I can't give like a really concrete answer because like likelihood is, it always depends, I would say. So I'm kind of a lawyer at that moment. Just think about, do never ever hand in the same project twice. That doesn't make any sense. But if you hand in a complete different application as like, let's say, a collaborative partner within a collaborative application, which is reasonable, which matches the criteria and is fine for the DNI Innovation Fund. If you also hand in on a different track or even on the same track, a second application as an individual or as an organization by your own, just think about how the story would look like for us as well. So I can't answer the question on the likelihood, but think about that both ideas have to be individual and have to be concrete and have to match the criteria.
Okay, the next question we have is about whether you can actually apply for something and then not receive the amount of money that you've asked for. You remember at the beginning of this process, we explained that there's a prototype, medium and large, and that we have a council that oversees the large projects. So in the case of the prototypes and the mediums, then what you apply for is what you get. But in the case of the large ones, the council obviously are reviewing all of those applications, and they can choose to give a different amount than the one applied for. So that one depends which track you're going into, but it's only really the large ones who are getting something sort of different to, or potentially they could get something different to what they've put on the piece of paper.
Okay, Sarah, as we got like a few questions, which we don't have on the slides at the moment, but I would like to ask you one question sent in by Anton. Can you provide more details about what you refer as a project which has an impact on the news ecosystem? Which are the most important criteria for evaluation? What did you think, like on the last round where you have been an assessor as well?
What are the most important criteria?
Yeah.
I mean, it's another one of those questions which really, we hope we've really specified them on the website and in the FAQs. Having impact into the news ecosystem could be an impact like Ludo described with some of the projects there that has an impact for lots of people. It's a question that lots of people are looking to answer. It's a question that the whole industry has an issue with. There are many topics that are, wherever you're based, that they're related to you. It could also be an impact on the ecosphere, which is kind of more of a sort of supply chain one that's changing how things are set up, that's disrupting or changing or influencing how the processes of the news system works. So it's kind of hard to come out with a quick answer to that, but it's really to have a think about how your proposal might be received in other parts of the world other than your own, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I will take the next one. So somebody else asked just immediately within the Hangout, can you give examples of the most common reasons why a project failed in the first round? So Sarah has slightly answered to that already, and Ludo as well. A lot of misunderstanding came, I think, because people did not read clearly the FAQ and the criteria. So if you look into the terms and conditions which are linked on the website, always make sure, always try to match your own application with the requested criteria within the terms and conditions, and also within the FAQ. And one of the most common problem with the applications in the first round, that there were like lots of applications just on the broad digital agenda, or just on modernization, or just on content production. So if you think about, like, if you have a blog and you want to make it like even bigger, and if you want to improve like with your own blog system, I think that's not an impact for the European news ecosystem, and it's not the idea of like just to improve on the specific aspect of content creation. Try to think abroad, try to come up with an even broader idea, try to like innovate the sphere of news publishing, and not just like jump up onto it.
Yeah, and I guess one of the most important aspects of that is that the DNI fund is not like a venture capitalist investment into your company.
Very important.
It is funding a project, an idea, something specific, and not how wonderful the company is. So I think that can be quite difficult for some of the smaller operators, but it's about the project, not about the company.
So a follow-up question to that was, actually it was the same question, what should we be careful, or what should you be careful about in the second round? What should you spend more time on? I think we said that now plenty of times, but to spend more time on the narrative, okay? So spend more time on the idea of handing in an application which is really focusing on the impact of the news ecosystem, which is trying to match the criteria I mentioned in the FAQ, and try to innovate the European news ecosystem. I would love to see more applications which try to be more specific on helping us to understand what's the scope of your idea. Yeah? What is the main focus on innovation regarding your application. And last but not least, key misunderstandings, lack of detail or over detail. That's something you have to work on. Probably show your application to your mother, for instance, and ask her if she's understanding your idea. That might sometimes help to get a deeper insight into your own application, even if you have to work quite long on it. So I think there's one last question, and then we might have to leave you for now. Could you be so kind and give us access to the slide presentation after the Hangout? Unfortunately, no, because all the information we just provided to you are part of the DNI Fund, Innovation Fund website. So make sure, again, to read the website really carefully. Today we have nothing said, we didn't say anything which is not part of the website. And if you look into the FAQ, there are different sections. It's not like just the first page with like the 2 questions. There are a lot of questions on like the project, on the application, on the criteria. Something else I really want to mention again this time is we have already uploaded the full questionnaire as a PDF. So before you start to fill out the application, make sure you download the application form as a PDF, check all the questions, make sure you get like really good answers to it, make sure that the consistency aspect is done pretty right. And I think that's a good basis to start your application and the application on. So think about it, hand in your application until the 11th of July. If you have any questions, again, check our website and the FAQ, but also if you think something is not answered, send an email to DNI Fund at google.com and get in touch with us. We are really happy to answer all your questions if they are not answered by the website.
Great.
Thank you very much for your time.
We look forward to your applications.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
That was a strange ending.